And we are back. I'm here doing my final presentation of The Awakening. Hope you enjoy. And here we go. The Awakening by Kate Chompin. Reviewer by Ian Lacy. This book is set in the 1800s where the rights of women were determined by the men that possessed them. Edna Pointeller, the protagonist in the story, goes through a series of awakenings that will set her free from the shackles of men. Along the way, she comes to find out who she truly is. This story is set in New Orleans during the time of the traditional Creole nation. Edna Pointeller. Edna Pointeller is the protagonist of the book. The title of the book is about her, the awakening she goes through the book. She is a wife and the mother of three boys. Edna is getting tired of mother womanhood, as the book would call it. She has to do everything a stereotypical woman would have to do: cook, clean, take care of guests, her children, along with being an acceptable wife to her husband. But what Edna really wants to do is to be free of feeling like a possession, to have her own say without having to obey every command a man gives her. She wants to be able to do something with her life than just being a housewife. Art is her passion, but her husband and the Creole culture say that a woman should be all about her family, not of her own dreams. Eventually, as time would come to pass, this is her first step toward her awakening, wanting something more. And as, su- as such, she gets invested in a man that is not her husband. Lawrence Pointeller. Lawrence Pointeller is the husband of Edna Pointeller. He is a wealthy Creole businessman that cares for his family. He loves his wife and his children, but all he really cares for is the social status of himself and his family. If something he feels would get people talking about him, then he must stop it. He is also a very religious man and takes his Creole tradition seriously. One might say he follows the code of the Creole nation. Edna and Lawrence Pointeller marriage. The Pointellers' marriage is a rocky one, though they do not like to show it. Through the 6 consecutive years they have been married, they started out happily in love with one another. But as time goes on, they start to become distant. It started when Edna refused to get out of bed right away to check on their sick child. Edna was tired and felt that Lawrence could go check on him, but he got mad at her, saying that's her mother woman duty. This action led to Edna wanting out. You could say this was her last straw of being a shackle to her husband before she starts her awakening. Finding, but this wasn't the last argument that turned the table of their marriage. Edna was so adamant about finding herself that some days out of the week she would take time to herself, painting and sketching. Lawrence disapproved of her nature to find herself because it was not of her status quo of a woman in the 1800s, let alone in New Orleans, the great Creole nation. Time and time again he tells her that her mind her mind should be of her womanly duties, that she should stop trying to become something she will never be. Lawrence even said that she does not resemble the mother woman she should be. Edna, on the other hand, agrees with this fact. She is not the mother woman she should be, and she doesn't want to be. She wants to be independent, not relying on a man, not relying on her motherly duties. She was to be free to do whatever she wants to be free to do whatever she pleases. That this thought consumes her, and though she doesn't share it, she shows it throughout the book with a man named Robert Liebram. Robert Liebram is the single bachelor in the novel. He has a reputation of having a different woman every summer. When he wants someone, he tells them in a jokingly manner that no one takes seriously. But when he and Edna meet, it sparks in the sky. He fancies Edna and takes her out on a few dates and gets really close to her. Edna feels the same. When they go on a trip to the cottage together, she pretends that they are the only ones in the world. She can be free with him, unlike her husband, and the passion he shows her is not like any other she has had in a while. He is her first awakening. He awakens her infatuation. Never before, since she has been married to Luance, has she had this new feeling. She remembers having this feeling before, only before she was married, feeling free before in a cage of marriage. Though both characters have love for each other, there is one thing Robert knows. He, no matter how much he feels for Edna and wants to be with her, can't. She is the possession of her husband. She is not his. This is a big thing in the 1800s. Women were seen as objects, possession of the house. The Awakenings. Edna and herself. There are several moments and people that Edna meets that bring her to her awakening. This is important because this impacts everything that Edna does. It empowers her soul, the essence of who she is, a woman. Mademoiselle Reyes. Mademoiselle Reyes would be the most influential awakenings that Edna would ever have. Mademoiselle Reyes is unmarried, childless, lives alone, and is focused on her music. She is a pianist, and she represents everything a woman were not back then. Independent. Edna admires her as her muse. She's everything she wants to be. When Edna pursues her need to be independent, she is the person Edna runs to. Mademoiselle Reyes tells her that she must have the courage and definite soul to become an artist, to be fine with being an outcast if it came down to it. She also awakens Edna's feminism. Her music she plays hits Edna's very soul. Never before has Edna cried during a musical performance before. She opens her eyes to the womanhood she has been missing. The sea. The sea plays a role in this novel. The sea is a sense of rebirth. Edna, at one point during her isolation from her family, goes to the sea. She has always avoided going into the ocean, but this day she makes the decision to go out to sea. And when she does, she feels liberated. She could finally take on the world. She also felt at peace because of how far isolated from shore she was. She was able just to be her. This also was a time for her to see what she was made of. Could she get back to the shore after swimming all that way? But now she had conquered not only being in the sea, but also having the strength to get back. Adele Radignol. Adele Radignol is Edna's close friend. She represents how a Victorian woman back then should be. She puts her child first, worships her husband, and does all her housewife duties. She is what Edna is not. Edna can't stand how her friend can be so subservient to a man. She knew that Adele had the talent for music, but only using it to entertain. This was because in the Creole culture, women were only able to use their talents to entertain, never to actually pursue. The role in the Creole culture Adele Radical shows is that of mother womanhood. She is someone that Edna begins to disconnect with, as like with her husband. Adele Radical was the catalyst of Edna's rebellion. Her free nature and her way of being able to talk about certain things enticed Edna. And without Adele Radical, she would never have heard Mademoiselle Rias play her music. Edna's suicide. Edna, after being awakened from her awakening throughout the book, does one final step. She commits suicide by drowning in the sea. There are many reasons for this action. One would be that after pursuing another man and having the people of Grand Isle talk, she could have been afraid of the reputation of being perceived. Two, her reason to die was to avoid her responsibility as a mother. Or three, it could be her final act to being free from the shackles of men. But whatever the case may be, there is one thing for sure. Edna found herself. She found the person that she had been hidden underneath the commands of men. And that is the end.